Okay, so today what we're going to work on is finding where a function is increasing and decreasing. So hopefully you remember how to find mins and max on your calculator. Make sure you have a calculator in front of you because we're going to be graphing. All right, so let's take a look at the function here. I have f of x is equal to x squared plus 4x minus 5. All right, so the first thing you want to do is draw a sketch of the function. So step 1 is to draw a sketch. Okay, so plug y equals x squared plus 4x minus 5 into your calculator. Hit graph. So I'll wait for you to do that because you need to do this while we're doing it together, okay? So that you guys know how to find the mins and maxes. It's a little refresher. Okay, so hopefully you plugged it into your calculator. All right, so you hit graph and you see the picture, and the picture looks kind of like this. Okay, so now what we need to do is find this minimum here. So step 2 is to find the mins and maxes. Find mins. So I'm going to put S in parentheses because if there's more than one. And maxes. Okay, so you use your calculator for that. So you hit, remember, second calc on the calculator. So you should be doing the second calc. Go to minimum. Hit enter, and then it says left bound, right bound. So in this case, left bound would be on this side of the point. So move the cursor over to this left side of the point. Hit enter. And then it says right bound, so move the cursor over to the right, to this side of the point. So you're on the right side of the point. It says guess, and you want it to guess, so hit enter. If you get a decimal, in this case we won't, but when you do get a decimal, you can just round to the nearest tenth unless otherwise stated something different. So this point comes out to be -2, -9. So what I want you to do is on your graph, label the x-axis as -2, and you can label your y-axis as -9. All right, so step 3 is to draw a number line under the graph. Draw a number line under the graph. Okay, so I draw my number line under the graph, and now you're going to plot the x values of your mins and maxes. All right, so step 4, plot the x values of your mins and maxes. Okay, so we only have one minimum, and that's at -2. So right underneath your graph where your -2 is, so right down here, I want you to put a line and put -2. Okay, so now on the number line, so this is step 3. No, sorry, this is step 5. On the number line, you're going to put pluses and minuses where the y values of the graph increase. The increase is where you're going to put your pluses, and decrease. And the decrease is where you're going to put your minuses. Okay, so let's look at the graph. When you read a graph, you always read a graph from left to right. So notice my graph, right? It starts up here, and it's going down to -2. So it's decreasing to -2. So on your number line, so this part here is this part. So from this here to here, it's decreasing. So you're going to put all minuses along here. And right above that, you can put decrease, okay, or DEC for decrease. And then from -2, it starts going back up. It's increasing. So put all pluses over here. You can put increase on that side, or INC for increase. Okay, so now your graph, though, is increasing from up here. It just keeps going. So it's coming from -infinity. So put -infinity on the right. And it's going to +infinity on the right side. I think I said over here was on the right, but it's actually on the left, sorry. Okay, so now the next thing is you want to be able to write using interval notation. So just put that as the last thing. Write using interval notation. Okay, so for this here on the decrease, it's going from negative infinity. Remember, infinity is always a parentheses to -2, and that's since -2 is part of my turning point. It has to be a parentheses, all right? Because it's it's kind of like right in the middle, so it's like on both ends. And then decreasing was from negative infinity to -2, and then it's increasing from -2 to positive infinity. And then the last thing I would want you to do is just to rewrite it. Sorry, could have messed it up. Okay, so you would just write it like this now. You're increasing, so it's increasing. It's increasing from -2 to infinity, and it's decreasing. So you're just like labeling it, negative infinity to -2. Okay, so let's try another one. So take a look at number 2. Okay, so you're going to plug in your calculator. Y equals 8x squared minus 2x to the 4th. So plug in your calculator. So put me on pause and get your graph going. Okay, so hopefully you plug this into your graph. And your graph should look something like this. It's going to come from down here, go up, come down to about there, come back up, and then come back down. Okay, so I have 2 maxes. I have a max here and a max here, and a minimum right here. So we have to get those points. So you're going to do second calc, max, do left bound, right bound. You get a decimal equal round to the nearest tenth. And this point here is -1.4, comma, 8. So your x value here is -1.4. Your y value is 8. Okay, let's do the point in the middle. Looks like it's 0, 0, but let's just check. So do second calc, min, left bound, right bound, enter, guess. And that is 0, 0. 0 on the x. And then let's do the last point over here on the right. So second calc, max, left bound, right bound, guess. And that comes out to be 1.4, comma, 8. So 1.4 on the x-axis. Okay, so draw a number line. Okay, so I have -1.4, 0, 1.4. Okay, so I have, reading the graph from left to right, it's coming from negative infinity. So let's put negative infinity on our graph, on our number line. So it's coming from negative infinity. It's increasing. This is an increase here to -1.4. So put all pluses in here. It's increase. And then this is decreasing here. So minus, 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 decrease. And then it's increasing again here. Plus, 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 plus. And then it's decreasing here to infinity. Okay, so for the first part, we have from negative infinity to -1.4, 1.4 to 0, 0 to 1.4, and 1.4 to infinity. And then we just have to label it. So it's increasing. It's increasing from negative infinity to -1.4. And it's also increasing from 0 to 1.4. It's decreasing. Decreasing from -1.4 to 0. And it's also decreasing, forgot to label that one, from 1.4 to infinity. Okay, so that's it, and we'll practice more in class tomorrow. Have a good night.